Um,
You can't hear me anywhere.
yeah, okay, guys, you got me here. I want to thank again to this County of Settler for putting this series. And as Quinton, you said, it takes actually quite a bit things to do to prepare the trees for the fall, because if you don't prepare for the fall, you will have a lots of headaches in the spring. And in some cases, some of those trees may not survive the fall and winter. And as you mentioned, adding additional stress, which is this year is really horrendous, it's a drought. You really need to take extra precaution. And if you would like to have a trees and keeping the trees on your property, there's definitely a few things people need to do. I will, as any other series, I'm a consulting company providing the service to the private and residential businesses, golf courses, municipalities, and parks. And trees are truly my passion, and our business is all about trees. We of the services, there is a list of them. We really have a range of the services that clients hiring us, from arborist service to the municipal small town tree services, where we provide inventory and management plan, agroforestry, shelter boats and windbreaks, and natural forest as well. So we are a family-run company, and slowly but steady growing as a company. Okay, now I'm going to always, as you always start in these sessions, is the key messages. And we will go through each of them, what it means and what you need to do. Water trees late in the fall, pre or freezing. Water them now as well. And usually September and October, one of the driest months we have in Alberta. Trees are definitely starving for the moisture, and watering from now all the way till first frost, you might really consider it like a steady watering of your trees. We are going to touch also today on the few insects and especially diseases that is right now showing up. If you look some of your trees, you will see some of the diseases that is going on, and what you need to do to try to avoid that disease coming up in the spring or next year. And some of them are extremely deadly. So you really need to pay attention to some of the, as I call, the fall insects and disease that you can notice them on your property. As I said, water properly, and we're going to talk about that. Wood chips, same as the last time I told the people, it's the best thing you can do to prepare your trees for the fall and the winter. It's one of the things that I consider is a must, because it really helps a lot, and most importantly, help the roots. What you also have to avoid, even though it's August and we still have a long way to before the snow, hopefully. No fertilizer, don't try to disturb the soil. You must protect the root and trunk, especially now with the drought. Any damages, try to avoid them. Pruning. I always said you don't need to prune the trees until March, April, February, depending. That's the best time to do the pruning. I always said don't do the fall pruning, and I can tell you right now, don't do the pruning of the live branches and live trees. Prune only that are branches and the twigs that are dead and broken, and wait until the leaves are fell off. But you really need to do some pruning right now in the fall, and again, to just reduce the lots of potential damage that it may occur during the fall and winter. Prepare for the wildlife. It's once the tree starts shutting down and wildlife, winter is coming, less food sources, you will have a lots of wildlife on your property, and there's all kind of damages that you can happen to your trees and shrubs. And it's also hunting season, and one of the way to control certain wildlife species is hunting, which is one of the tools that you might have at your disposal. Plan for salt. During the winter time, during the summertime, people use the sodium for the dust control, and of course, in the winter time, we use for the de-icing. there's several things you might be able to do to really avoid the salt and damages, because once you get the salt in the soil and once you get the salt in the trees, it's a long lasting and really deadly and very damaging to the trees. For those guys that have a livestock, horses or cows, I think it's the best time now to move them away. And there is one of the reasons for that is avoid the nutrients. It's a simple manure. Manure is the fertilizer, and that doesn't allow trees to shut down, and also compaction, which can be very detrimental to the trees. So some of those are key messages, and I'm going to go for each of them. So what is the fall and winter do to the tree? Of course, right now, as we speak, people don't realize that most of the trees is already in biological process of shutting down. The trees that you have on your properties through the millennia find a way and know the system when to shut down, because we know, and I experienced in my lifetime, we get the snow in September. I've seen the snow in every month in Alberta, but we get the snow in September. So the tree has a mechanism that is slowly now starts shutting down. Leaves will turn yellow. Sugar is gonna stop flowing to the roots, and it's just preparing for the winter. So from from the outside factors, there's lots of things that can impact the trees. Lack of moisture. September, as I said, September and October is one of the driest. That's what we do the harvesting. There's not lots of rain. Again, we are just coming out of and we are still in a drought, so there's no moisture. Soil are totally depleted by the moisture. The roots of the trees are starving for the moisture. So that will keep going all the way into the fall. And if we get a winter that is cold but no snow, and snow is amazing insulator to the roots, that will even further put a pressure on the roots, and basically in some cases will kill the roots and eventually kill the trees. As I said, there is some already disease that is right now as we speak most likely you might have on your property, on your trees, and that one you have to look what you're going to do about it. Again, cold temperature and dry air is more stress. There is again no water. Winter sun, we will have that cold days, but sun radiation is pretty high, and that will create lots of winter kill. And the last year, and actually last 2 years, huge amount of trees got killed by the winter kill, and that's basically through the sun radiation. As I said, already mentioned, wildlife and livestock damage, expect them to be more during the fall and winter time. Salt, deep freeze, and heavy snow. Heavy snow, if you, God forbid, if you get snow in September, it's wet and most likely would be heavy. That can make lots of damages and breakages on the trees, and even some cases ice when we get an early winter. So there's lots of things can impact your trees during this period of time, and try to do your best to protect the tree as much as you can. So the things you have none of that you have a control over this, what can go after your trees. Fallen insects and disease to watch. Spider mites. We have a dry summer, and they love that. And usually outbreak of the spruce spider mites is in September. You will notice if you look your spruce trees right now, and a little bit later on, you're going to see the huge amount of the spider mites. In your area, you might not have lots of pine. Mountain pine beetle is west of you in Rocky Mountain House. My friend Caroline told me that this year, last 2 years, the population of mountain pine beetle is not expanding and it's actually slowing down, which is wonderful news. And then we have those 4 really diseases that are very deadly, and I'm gonna cover a little bit about them. As I said, spider mites. The best way you can do with the spider mites, you basically take a white sheet of paper, and just shake the branch, and you're gonna see the lots of things on your white sheet of paper. How do you recognize the spider mites? On that sheet of paper, you're gonna see that things that is crawling and crawling very fast. And it's like a little dot or red or black, and they just go very fast on your sheet of paper. And it's a spider mite. The color of the needles and webbing, it's brownish and grayish, and it's usually inward of the trees toward to the branch, to the trunk, where you're going to find lots of spider mites. There's lots of natural predators that is going on. Personally, the best thing you can do, even though now it's the we're in drought, so we use the water, soak them with the water. In the same coin, you will water your trees. So if you have a spider mites, really heavy water them, and they don't like the moisture, they don't like the water, they hate it, and you try to get rid of the spider mites. In the same coin, you will water your tree as well. And there is some beneficial insects like the lady beetles that you can do. There is some also the miticide that you can use if you really have a heavy population, but just be careful. Also, soapy water definitely can help out to control the spider mites. So as I said, you will start, you might not noticing them yet, but you will start noticing them very soon, that your trees are inside branches start getting grayish or brownish, and most likely you will want to have a spider mite. So soak them, water them, and try to get rid of them. Definitely they can damage your conifer trees. As I said, you most likely don't have so far yet a mountain pine beetle. If you do have a pine beetle already flew, what you might do, look for any pitch tubes like this, okay? And you can see them on the trees. If you have something that is here on the right corner, that's a pitch tube moth, totally different than mountain pine beetle. This one is definitely deadly and can take all of your shelter belts if you have a pine on your tree, on your shelter belts or in your yard. So just do the inspection. Okay, that if you have them, make a notification of that, and then next year you might buy this little pouch. It's called a verberone. That you might it's a distractant. It's basically tell the beetle, don't come here, it's already occupied trees, and try to confuse the beetle not to land on your trees. So again, just not much you can do right now, but just check it out if you have them, because they flew by July and August right now, and they're finishing flight. And if you see the fresh pitch tubes on your pine trees, you may have a mountain pine beetle. And I know the settler is far away from Rocky Mountain House, but wind can pick them up, because there is a mountain pine beetle in the Wetaskiwin County, in Camrose County, in Ponoka County. All of the north and west of you, most of them, they have a mountain pine beetle. So just check out for them. Then we are moving into the diseases. Though this one, it's called needle cast. There is 3 of them. First 2 of them is Rhizosphere and Stigmina, which are almost the same. The only difference is that Stigmina actually came from Europe in 70s, I think, and they were found in Manitoba area. How they operate, they always kill the needles. This is a new growth needles, and they always kill the needles that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years older. And your tree, all of the branch look like a brownish or red, and needles start falling off. Generally speaking, you're never gonna kill your trees. Your tree is gonna look like a naked. There is not enough needles on it, but generally speaking, it's not gonna kill your trees. Same thing applies to the pine. This is a new growth of the pine, and this is a last year 2, year 3, year 4, and they kill all of the older needles, but they don't touch the new growth. Trees can sustain this. Visually, it's not pleasing, and it could be scary, but very, very rarely it kills the trees. It definitely can weaken the trees. That drought would be more damaging, because if you reduce the amount of needles on your trees, there is no photosynthesis, there's no sugar for the roots, and that will weaken the tree. And a dry year, that is really bad if you don't have a lots of needles on your trees. And again, if you have a little close up to look, you're going to see that like a black little dots on your needles, and that's what this tells you, that is a needle cast. As I said, what you can do if you have a sun-dead branch, just prune it. There is some fungicides that I really don't know about, and I would not recommend, because you really know what you're doing, and it's pretty expensive. And the effectiveness, what I read, is questionable, put that way. This one is definitely more deadlier, Cytospora canker, and it can whole branch can be right now, if you go, can be totally red. So they kill not just this year growth, they kill everything. And this is how they look like whole branch, and they usually start on the lower 1/3 of the tree, and whole branch is just wiped out. So what you might look into that now, if you need it, this is the time to do the proper pruning, okay? And you remove those branches and try to reduce. Same canker you have on the aspen or some of the fruit trees, it's very deadly, and you need to again do the pruning, because it will kill the branches, it will kill the twigs, it will kill eventually tree. So with this one, again, if you see something like this, that is on spruce trees or pine trees, the whole branch is out, cut, do the proper pruning. I'm going to explain you how to do that, and sterilize your tools, okay? But you do needle cast and canker is in your county that you have most likely on your trees. Leaf spot, it's getting a lots of requests to identify this one, and it's during the growing season. It goes after the balsam and hybrid poplars. If you have them, foliage is usually, sometimes this is actually, this morning I got one from town Enchant, which is just north of the Lethbridge, and the lady sent me the photos, and most likely it was poplar leaf spots, and the whole leaves are black. And you have those spots, but sometimes they grow so much together that whole leaf became black and curly, and it's definitely can kill the branches and twigs and whole trees. If you have on the branch, you can do the pruning, and dispose right away. Don't leave the leaves once they fell down, because that's where the disease stay over the winter, and then next spring cycle come again. So the only thing you can do on this poplar leaf spot is remove the infested leaves, dispose them, and do the pruning. Okay, my phone. Okay, what more? So I'm sorry for that. So what's next we have is bronze leaf disease. Right now, you watch for this one. It's usually go after the Swedish aspen, and how they usually start on the lower branches. They become brownish, dark reddish, and the biggest thing you can recognize, you have like a green nerve, central nerve into the leaves, and it's totally green, okay? And lots of and it's sporadic like this, look at on this, you go here, and then is the green, then is the furthermore. It's introduced, it's really deadly for the Swedish aspen and towering poplar that you guys have. And one of the things that you definitely need to avoid is to not plant monocultures. This is a typical example I show over and over. People plant the Swedish aspen all around their property, and this disease comes and wiped out whole shelter belts. So watch out for this one. It's this time of year is the symptoms of this again brownish color with veins green, and usually start on lower. It's very deadly. If you see that, if you don't know what it is, and you might send to the lab, and lab will identify this disease. If you have them, remove and destroy the leaves as soon as possible. If you have dead branches, remove them. Don't chip and keep them in composed material that can stay. Put them in plastic bag or burn them. The biggest thing I can tell you, if you have a Swedish aspen and a situation like this, that with or around your home, don't do that. Don't plant only one species. Don't plant just Swedish aspen. There is a variety of the tree species that you can plant and avoid loss of all of the trees. In this particular case, what happened, all of those trees were dead within 2 or 3 years, and this person literally didn't have any privacy and protection or anything like that. So avoid the monoculture. Watch out for this one. This is very, very deadly. There's the other one, Molonspora leaf rust. Right now, actually, all of those pictures, it's from town of Stettler. A year ago, I did some assessment of the trees in town of Stettler, and this one is actually at a graveyard in town of Stettler, and it's a leaf rust. And if you look closely into the leaf, you're going to see the yellowish color, and it's like a powdery orange, and you shake it, and you have to be careful not to go in your nose and not inhale. It's the rust. It requires, actually, it's a 2-year cycle, and it's required conifers to develop. So in this particular case, in Stettler graveyard that you guys have over there, there is a small little forest. There is a larch, there is a spruce, there is a pine. Those conifers are hosting this rust for the 2nd year, and it's moved back and goes after in this particular case, after the hybrid poplar. Definitely leaf drop. You can notice them now, that lots of leaves try falling off. In the long run, can weaken the trees and eventually can kill the tree. Even those, I'm just wondering if, Quinton, you might go over there and see if those hybrid poplar are doing okay. And if you might find this time of year again, you might find this leaf rust. Again, you avoid using monocultures, and avoid the dense planting, because they, like any other fungi, they love when it's a closed canopy, lots of moisture and heat, and that's how they grow. They love temperature like this now, 24, 25, 27 degree, and some moisture in the air, no air circulation. That's the perfect for the fungi to develop. So you may have that one. As I said, this is a picture from town of Stettler, and so definitely you might have in the county of Stettler as well. And it goes both after the poplar and willows. Dry fall. We have a drought, and right now, if you look some of your trees, you're gonna have this curly shape on the margins, getting very brown. New growth start to flush out and try to survive the tree. As you can see here, you can see that all around this little leaf, it's brown, and trees are try to survive by the new growth, or these leaves is gonna, most of them is gonna fall off. In the conifers, some extreme cases, whole trees are just right now, if you don't water or didn't water your trees, is totally brown. This crabby looking trees, that is again loss of the moisture, usually starts on the top. You have lots of dead branches on the top, on the side, and usually center of the tree is only the green area, because that's the closest to the trunk, closest to the roots in many ways, and roots provide the moisture this much. The rest of the has to suffer. The problem with this one, when you have a dead tops and they're already dead twigs and branches, most of them, they will not gonna recover. They will not come back. They will be dead. And one of the way the lack of the water in the tree is that is creating the air into the trees, in the cells, and they rupture. It's like that we as a human got aneurysm. That's what drought does to the tree. So this is again case that you might need to remove the dead branches, make sure they're dead. To avoid this, again, you need to water them now. As I mentioned last time, also pay attention, come to the watering, what kind of soil type you have. If you have a sandy soil, water is going to go away very quickly, especially if you planted the spruce trees on the sandy soil. Most of them will suffer immensely. Sandy soil, pine like sandy soil because they have a much bigger root system. Age of the trees, young trees that hasn't developed a root system, hasn't have ability to draw the moisture further away from the tree, they will the first one to go. And then further mature trees, you're gonna noticing many branches that are curling leaves, tops are dead. So mature trees will have some drought, but not extensive as a young trees. Know your tree species. Some of them do like water, some of them don't. Right now in drought, all of them need a water, but don't overwater. Don't drown the tree because of the drought. So we gotta be careful on that. Look for the water quality and quantity. Make sure that your water doesn't have a sodium. And do you have a water, or you need to purchase water, or hold the water, or whatever? You need to look, and what's the best way to deliver that water, and cost as well. So for the fall, again, test for the sodium levels. Go help young trees, because they don't have a root capacity as a big mature trees to withdraw moisture from the soil. So help them out right away. The best way to water, soak them. Don't try to put a huge amount of water in a short period of time. Take just slowly, but water them steady, and deep as much as you can. What it means, most of the trees, the root system are between the 6 or 8 inches on the topsoil. So you need some time to get that water perlocate into deeper layers of the soil that trees would be able to access to that water. As I said, best thing you can do is the mulch. If you have a mulch, or if you don't have a mulch, put a mulch now and water that mulch. That mulch will keep the moisture within the root system. That mulch is not going to let the moisture disappear very quickly in that sense. I can't stress enough, water your trees before the freezing. In your parts of the country, I don't know, a second or third week in October, again, water them. Even though it could be plus 10, 8, 7, water them. Again, steady and slow. And once the frost start hitting, of course, you're gonna stop watering in that sense. But water them, because that water will be only water available to the trees in the spring, when we have a very dry spring and high winds, and trees has no access of the water. Especially now, we didn't have a moisture in summertime. We might not have a moisture in the fall, and then in the spring there's no moisture either. So your tree, only water that is acceptable to them will be right now. Anything that you water now all the way to the freezing, that's the only water that will be for your trees and for the next spring. And you try to save the roots. The roots are the end. You kill the roots, the whole tree is gone. So how much? I usually set 10 gallons per inch of the diameter. So if you have a tree that is 6, 7 inch, 10 inch, 100 gallons, and that's a rule of thumb. Not necessarily for every tree and shrub is that much, but that's a rule of thumb. As I said in the previous presentation, the University of Minnesota, an extension, they give us some recommendation how much watering you need to have for the young trees. And as I said, this is just rule of thumb. And also keep in mind, this is Minnesota, so Alberta is even more drier. Now, when you do the watering, this is the very important. Lots of people come and take a hose and put right away next to the trunk. And that's the last thing you need to do to your trees. Unless you have a really, really small tree that is just planted and roots are not established. If you have any tree that is established, we call something drip line. This is where is the line, how wide the tree is. And this is where the roots are. Fine roots are furthest away from the trunk. And you won't water these roots. You know, if you put just next to the trunk, it's going to be here, but most of the roots around the trunk are the only keeping the tree stand and for stability of the trees. The fine roots are further away. So if you, rule of thumb, just look at where is the drip line, and that's the area where you want to start water. And that's the area you do the slow watering. You take a hose and it's not putting again to the trunk, put it here and just slowly dripping, just slow. And sometimes could be an hour or two, but slow. And that all you want is you want to perlocate the water into those 6 or 8 inches as much as you can. And this is where the fine roots are going to be able to take it. And the same thing in the winter, late in the fall before the freezing, this water is going to freeze here. But that frozen, we call frozen ball, it's not going to kill the roots because the water is 0 degree or -1. If you don't water, what's going to happen? The air is going to come into the roots, and the cold air is going to take the moisture from the roots, and that's the way you kill the tree, because the cold air is going to create like a little icicles in the root system, and they rupture, and that's how you kill the roots. And that's why you suddenly have a tree that is perfectly fine in the fall, the cold air get into the roots and kill the whole tree. Watering in mulch will protect your root system, not allowing the cold air come into the root zone. And also snow. Snow is a wonderful isolator. If you get 3 feet of snow, that's the best thing that can happen to your roots. They don't allow the cold air to get in your roots. So mulching and watering in the before freezing is absolutely must, especially with the dry year like we have now. I already talk about mulch. Use that we call arborist wood chips. So don't try to put a bark, because that bark is also good mulch, but doesn't have any nutrients. Arborist wood chips is basically take the whole tree, chip it, and you have a bark, you have a wood, you have a little branches. That's the best one. They provide the nutrients, they provide the insulation, they provide the moisture, and that's what you want. The biggest thing you can do, don't put the wood chips next to your trunk. Just put a 6 or 8 inch away from your trunk. Create a donut versus the volcano. In this particular case, they use the water bags or water gator, and plus the wood chips. They slowly release the water on this newly planted elm tree, and preparing them for the down the road for the winter as well. So again, you can take whole area. The chances of those trees to survive and thrive in the long run are way bigger than the one that you don't have any of this. So the wood chips is again is the best thing you can do. And again, I think this picture is from I think it is also from Stettler, from town of Stettler. Benefits, as I said, it's keep the roots protected from the cold air and winter freezing, keep the moisture right now that is desperately needed, and moderate the temperature and reduce the root stress. That's what wood chip does to the tree in the fall and the winter, and actually year round, matter of fact. Side benefits, of course, you get some nutrients if you have arborist wood chips versus rocks and plastic or some other things, that doesn't provide any nutrients. It does serve the function of the weed control, but doesn't provide any nutrients. So best thing you can do, keep that wood chips and put the wood chips to your trees and water them now, because if you water them now, wood chips, they will slowly percolate in your soil and into the roots, and keep that water not going away, which is must right now in this drought condition. Fall pruning, as I said, do not prune trees in the fall unless it's a matter of safety, that you have a trees that is can break off and fall down and damage your property, damage the infrastructure, or God forbid kill the damage, hit the people. Also, because it's we have it still dry, fires are raging, and if you have a lots of dead material, pruning right now in the fall is one of the way to use the fire hazard. Now, said that, if you take any chainsaw and with lots of dead branches, you can start a fire, and you guys have a wind there too. So if you're gonna do any pruning in your property, use the pruners. Don't try to use any electrical or gas-driven chainsaws, because they can spark and start a fire. Okay, wait for maybe when the leaves are gone, temperatures are very low, then you might use the equipment. But right now, if you have a lots of dead material, don't, because you can start the fire on your own property. And I have one client that is literally started the fire in her own shelter belts, and probably took 10% of the shelter belts to the fire. So the only thing you can do in the fall and the early winter, October, November, remove the dead branches or broken branches, remove them, and wait till the next year for the February, March, and April to do the proper pruning. How to do the proper pruning? We call three-way cuts. If you have a big branch, which is this one is on the pine, you do the undercut, and you do the second cut. You take the weight off, and don't leave the stubs. Don't leave this piece. It's called stub. What you have to look is this swelling, okay? And that's the swelling you don't want to damage. And it's called branch collar. And that's the swelling that has a special cells and tissues. When you make this final cut, they will heal and close the wound. Same as we cut ourselves, and that cells closing the wound. Those are the special cells we call in the branch collar. You don't damage them. You're gonna see them. Look at how they are swelling here. And this is where the branch starts. This is where the swelling. This is the trunk. And even better on this pine, you can see where the little branch is growing from the root, from the branch collar, and where is the trunk. You do not damage. Why three-way cut? Once you make undercut, you take the weight off, and that's what you want. Lots of people take a chainsaw or equipment, they try to make a cut right away here, and what that creates, the weight of that branch literally ripped off half of your tree. You don't want to do that. Again, it's easy way, just undercut, take the weight off. You have this swelling, look at very close, you have this little stub, cut it out, and that's the best way you can do the pruning and remove the dead branches. Again, some of the cuts, some of the people made a mistake to cut too low, too high, and all kind of mistakes they made. This is the proper way cut. You keep under the slope on this. If you have if you have opposite branches, just keep a little bit above. Again, in the fall and winter right now, so September, October, and November, the only thing you do is dead or damaged branches. And if it's matter of safety, yeah, you have to do that. But then wait for February, March, April, May to do the pruning. What to avoid? Do not till right now. You don't want to do any tilling to keep the moisture away. If you have some of the weeds, try to pull them if you can, but do not try to till. Do not try to expose more soil to lose the moisture. Do not fertilizer either, because it's too late. And fertilizer is sodium, it has a huge amount of sodium inside, and it will also try to stimulate the tree to grow when trees is already shutting down, and you don't want a early frost to come and kill the trees. All of the damages to the bark or root, it's really must. Do not put extra stress to your trees right now, because they are under the already heavy stress from the drought. Animal damages you can have from woodpeckers, beavers, deer, livestock, from browsing, budding, pulling, rubbing. It's a it's a rut season, and you will have some damages from the moose or elk or deer. Many times the only thing you can do is, again, in some of them you can do the hunting. Try to have your dogs chase them away if you can with a sapsucker. I think most of them already preparing to be, they're going to be gone. Beaver, if you have a beaver, you might trap them. Porcupine, again, some of the hunting you might do and try to, but be prepared for some of the wildlife. Don't forget also that you have a trees and it's a wildlife habitat, and it's one of the nature way to have those beautiful wildlife species as well. So, but be prepared for the onslaught of the wildlife during the late winter, early winter and late fall. Salt. If you live along the road, best thing you can do is, number one, plant a tree and shrub species that are salt tolerant. If you have lots of people don't realize their vehicles bring the lots of salt on during the winter time, and you dispose them on your driveways, or you use the salt on your driveways or sidewalks or whatever you have. And when you clean the snow, you pile them up nearby tree or nearby shrubs. In this particular case, what City of Edmonton does is piling up huge amount of snow with a huge amount of salt and ice. And this not just physically icing damaging the bark, but also huge amount of sodium. So as I said, if you have a shelterable windbreaks and busy road, plant some of the salt resistant shrub species. If you have a driveways and you use the sodium, plan where you're gonna push the snow further away from the trees and shrubs. Don't use the sodium and then the cleaning up the snow from your driveway and put them against the trees. That's the worst thing you can do. So if you use the salt, know where you use it and know where you're going to dispose. And also look, don't forget that salt eventually is going to melt where the water flows. Okay, so try to dispose somewhere that where when it's melting, it's going to be further away from trees as much as you can. So, but it's definitely salt is detrimental to the trees and shrubs, and be prepared. Plan where you're going to dispose the snow during the winter time. As I said also, and I didn't put a slide on the livestock. If you have horses and cows near your shelter belts or near your trees, try to right now move them away from the trees. And the reason for that is they produce urea, and urea is a very potent fertilizer. And what that supply the fertilizer to the roots and telling the roots keep growing, you have lots of nutrients. This time of year in the fall, the roots need to shut down and prepare for the winter, and that urea will gonna confuse the trees and let the trees to keep growing, and then frost comes in and kill the trees. So if you have any chance opportunity to keep your livestock away in September and October until that freezing kicks in, you do it, because right now you try to give the chance to the trees to survive and not try to damage again to the livestock, either through the browsing or compaction or nutrients. So just be very conscious about that, because it definitely, I've seen lots of trees get killed because of the nutrients coming from the livestock. So go back to the key messages. Water your trees well, do the proper watering, do the slow watering, make sure there is no sodium in the water. Water them all the way when you in your area that there is the potential for the frost. So that could be, again, first week in October, could be second week in October, I don't know, in your particular area. But water them. And again, don't just put a hose next to the trunk or next to the trees. Keep in mind that drip line. The fine roots are in 6 inches on the topsoil, further away from the trunk. If you do have some of those diseases, like a rust or bronze leaf disease, really be careful with them. Remove them. Don't keep them on your property, because they will gonna come back. And with the bronze leaf, they will kill your trees. With the rust, same thing. In the long run, it's gonna kill your trees. The best thing you can do right now is put the wood chips. If you haven't put the wood chips, doesn't matter how big trees are small or big, put them now and water them now. Put usually they say 2 to 4 inches of the thickness of the wood chips. I always said go 4 to 6 inches. The more you have arborist wood chips, the better it is in the long run to your trees. Try to avoid any damages, because, as I said, trees are already under the stress, and you don't need to add more stress in that sense. Come to the pruning, just dead and broken branches, nothing else. Don't try to prune the live branches, because that will confuse the tree, and pruning means also stress to the tree. If you have a live branch and you're doing the pruning now, they are under the stress when you prune it. Don't keep that green leaf area, and don't prune it at all. But if you have a dead, yes, you can do it, and broken. And again, matter of safety. If you have some branch that is really potentially can damage yourself and or property, yeah, definitely you have to remove it. Prepare for the wildlife. If you have a fruit trees, they love it. And late in the fall, there's lots of nutrition, there's lots of fruits, and the animals love that. So be prepared to having the wildlife issues in that sense. But again, keep in mind, you live in rural area, and the wildlife are part of your landscape. And that would be it for now. Here is me and my contact. If you have any questions, of course, contact the county and Quinton. And Quinton will be the person who will take your calls, come to the problem with insects and diseases, or trees, matter of fact, anything with trees. Quinton, it's yours.
Well, thanks again, Toso. A lot of information, so little time. You know what? For those that are watching, whether it's YouTube or Zoom, thank you very much. Definitely get your friends on, get the word out. What we wanted to do with this was not only get some information out to everybody, but have conversations. This is the issue I'm having. Here's what I'm seeing. And we can try and live shoot a few of those things, and maybe more people are having that same issue that don't think it's a problem. So definitely get the word out and get the questions into myself, or get on Zoom with us live and ask the questions, whatever it is, so we can better help out what's going on. I'm only one set of eyes, and I do my best to get around and see what's going on. But, Toso's the pro, and that's why I have him here, and let's pick his brain as much as possible. So thank you very much, Toso, for the information again.
You're welcome. And again, I always enjoy it. And again, if any question that you have, and again, to your county residents, if you have questions or ideas, that's the biggest thing also I would like to know what else topics you would like to hear, or what issues you have that I might not address right now, but next presentation we have 7 more to come, right?
Absolutely.
So plenty of information has come to you folks.
Absolutely. We have lots more to go. And yeah, I mean, you know, the way things are looking and who knows with the weather we're having, what our fall is going to look like. You know, Tosa and I have been talking about getting together and having a walkthrough and actually speaking one-on-one. And if we have that interest, for sure, we're going to get Tosa out. You learn so much. So,
Oh, I think nothing replaced to have a live situation that people can see that. But
that's right.
Yeah. So thank you, Quinton, again. See you in 2 weeks or 1 week. We'll
We'll see you again on August 24 at 10 o'clock.
Perfect.
And note the time change, August 31. We're also at 10 o'clock. We had a little thing we had to work around. So the next 2 Tuesdays, 10 a.m. right here.
Excellent. Looking forward for that, Quinton and folks in Statler County.
Thanks, Toso. Thanks for your time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.